Am I the a-hole I left her because she made me wait for... Am I the a-hole if I call off my engagement because of a comment my fiance made about my late wife? Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my wife name our kid something stupid?
Am I the a-hole for making a microscope slide of my husband's sperm?
Welcome to another Reading Reddit Stories video. My name is Sarby, and I read Reddit stories to you so that we can react and judge them together. Only if you actually enjoy the video, hit that subscribe button so that you can see my videos and live streams every single week. And don't forget to drop a comment letting us know who you think are the a-holes in these stories. Am I the a-hole I left her because she made me wait for sex? Male 26, female 26. I've been seeing a woman for 3.5 months and things were going great, except for the lack of sex. Now, I don't mind this because she said she really likes being with me and is interested in building something long-term and wishes to take it slow. Fine by me. But then last Friday, we were making dinner at my place and having drinks, and the awkward topic of our past came up. I didn't bring it up. She did, asking about exes and whatnot. Then she admitted she hadn't dated for a while. So out of curiosity, I asked how she was getting her needs met, and she mentioned having friends with benefits from time to time. Okay, fine, it's not that serious. But then she continued and is like, I can see it's bugging you, before spilling her guts basically. I didn't press her, she spilled. Again, she spilled. And I just stood there awkwardly cooking and having my drink. She starts telling me how she knows it probably bothers me that we've not had sex, but she really likes me and it's been years since she was in a relationship or even felt such a connection with someone. And she's been worried I'll think she's a sleut or something if we sleep together too quickly. Then from there, she goes on to talk about how she's had lots of sex between her last relationship and now, which is a period of nearly 5 years. And every time she did hook up with someone new, it made her feel like she was losing a piece of the woman she was, who just loved romance and wanting to be with one guy, but she was young and figured she would explore now rather than dealing with such feelings later when she found a great guy. So I asked her if they were all friends with benefits, and she said no, that she had a number of one-night stands from when she would go clubbing and partying, hookups from dating apps, plus all the dudes she slept with more than once, who she also met under those circumstances, plus on social media. And she said she slept with all of them very quickly, often on the same day/night or within a couple of days max. At this point, I was feeling extremely jealous, I won't lie, because I do like her very much and we've been having a good time without having sex. But knowing that she slept with so many guys very quickly but held off because we're serious annoyed me. I haven't had as many partners as she's had, but I've slept with past girlfriends and friends with benefits, and outside of my first girlfriend from high school, didn't wait with any of them more than a couple of weeks. I don't think there's anything off-putting about me. I've been relatively successful at dating and hooking up through my teens and 20s. I guess it instantly bothered me that she was willing to sleep with all these dudes, but when it's serious, she wants to wait. But it's still her choice, I guess. Out of annoyed curiosity, I asked if she slept with anyone prior to us meeting and talking, which was a month before we got together. She said yes, that she dated one dude briefly for a month and they slept together the whole time earlier this year, but it wasn't serious. Then she admitted to having sex with another guy a couple times just before we got together, so during the period we were speaking but not dating. At this point, the tension is ridiculously high and she's apologizing and telling me how she's so sorry and knows I'm mad because she can see. I tell her to drop it because it's not going to do us any good to continue the conversation. We have an awkward dinner, then later that night she asks if I'd like to have sex. A day earlier, it would have been an enthusiastic yes. That night, I felt like she was just guilty and trying to make me feel better. I turned her down and ended up sleeping in the spare room of my place. When she left the next day, I spent all day feeling sick. It bothered me a lot. My mind was filled with all sorts of stuff. That evening, I sent her a message telling her I didn't think it would work out and explained that I just don't see anything for us down the road. I said her choices were her own and that's on her, but I felt like I was being held to some unfair higher standard. It hurt. I liked her, but I knew it would constantly be on my mind how she slept around and did so pretty quickly while I waited because things were serious. I spoke to both guy and girlfriends. My guy friends pretty much agreed with me breaking it off, while my girlfriends disagreed and almost across the board had a stance of guys don't really get it. It's different when you genuinely have feelings for someone versus something casual. It's been a week since. I still feel sad. I've blocked her everywhere we talked. I do miss her, but last Friday night still has me feeling effed up. This whole conversation is just what the hell? Like, why on both sides did they let the conversation go as far as it went? I don't think the girl did anything wrong, but I also don't think the guy did anything wrong. I almost want to go with like everyone sucks here for not having the wherewithal to know that this conversation was gonna end poorly. But then no a-holes here because what? The girl told the truth and the guy was uncomfortable with the truth and did what he needed to do. Is that even possible? Can we have an everyone sucks here, but also no a-holes here at the same time? Maverick, I see your comment. Not the a-hole. She's willing to do it with all these random men with no questions asked, but when it comes to OP, who she has a genuine connection with, she forces him to wait. I don't think that's a good take. I'm gonna be real honest here, Maverick. This is a very common thing for girls. Girls will like just hook up with dudes because they think they're hot, but like they're like, oh, that's the only, I just needed my needs met. And then they meet a really nice guy and they're like, oh, I wanna wait because I don't want it to just be like a hookup, right? And there's a lot of societal pressures around if a girl puts out too quick, then the guy that she's hooking up with, who she might be really interested in, is going to think that she's a sloot, like the story said. But if she doesn't, then she's a prude. The only part of that, Maverick, that I agree with you on is I don't think the dude's an a-hole. Personally, this would probably bug me too. Like I would probably be a little bit more understanding than OP is, but I would be lying if I wasn't like, this bugs me. At least for dude brain, it makes no sense. Especially 3 months. Like if this had been 2 or 3 weeks in, I think OP would be the a-hole. But 3 months is a lot. I personally believe sex is a very important aspect to any relationship, and it's something that you have to figure out is good before you even get into that relationship. Listen, I'm allowed to be very sexually active and then decide I don't want to be anymore and want to seek out something more serious and long term. I agree, Kettle, but I also think it's very weird to communicate with a dude that you were just like hooking up willy-nilly with not whoever, but you were just hooking up and having fun with it with dudes that you didn't care about. And then you find someone that you're like, ooh, I kind of do care about them. And now you're making them wait for like 3 months. I don't think he's like judging her for being sexually open and then closing it off to him. But it like, this would make me feel weird too. I would be like, okay, what the hell? Like, what is this logic? Like that would be unattractive to me. But I'm not saying that the girl isn't entitled to that. But what I'm saying is it's just like backwards. It's really backwards. I think this is a conversation you have after you have sex. I'd be very curious to know what would have happened or how OP would have felt if they would have had this conversation after they had had sex. I'm glad they were open to talk about it, but I don't think the timing was right. Am I the a-hole if I call off my engagement because of a comment my fiance made about my late wife? For some background info, I, 43 male, have 2 children with my late wife, Kayla. Sam, 21 male, and Liz, 16 female. All fake names. Kayla passed away when our kids were 15 and 10. I won't give specifics about how she passed, but she was struck by a drunk driver when she was on her way home from work. She really was the love of my life, and to say that her passing hit our family hard would be an understatement. I promised myself that if I got back into the dating game, I wouldn't date anyone for at least a couple of years for the sake of my kids. 3 years after my wife's passing, I met my now fiance. We'll call her Amanda. Things went slow, and I didn't introduce her to my kids until we had been dating for about a year at that point. Now we've been together for 3 years and are engaged. Amanda and my kids have always had a good relationship. Neither of my kids are super close to her, but they have always been friendly and welcoming to her. And Amanda has never overstepped any boundaries my kids have, like trying to replace their mother. At the beginning of Amanda and I's relationship, she was a bit insecure of the fact that I was a widower. She would constantly ask things like, if Kayla had never passed, would I, OP, still be with her right now? I always kept my answers brief and told her that I didn't like thinking about the what ifs and that she was the one I was dating now, and that was what mattered. Eventually, she stopped making those comments and I stopped worrying about it. Now to the issue. My parents were hosting a family dinner to celebrate my fiance and I's engagement. It was my mom and dad, my late wife's sister and her husband, Sam, and Liz, and me and Amanda. Dinner was going well. We were all making small talk with each other and talked about wedding plans. About halfway into dinner, my mom made a comment about how she was so happy I was able to find the spark I had with Kayla in someone else. I don't think anybody really paid much attention to the comment, but then Amanda laughed and said, I'm happy she died, otherwise I would have never gotten him to myself. How does anybody let a sentence like that out of their mouth? It was my mom and dad, my late wife's sister and her husband. So the person that she just said she's glad is dead, their sister is at this dinner. Not only is that a crazy sentence to just say to one person, but at a dinner table with not just the kids, not just the parents, the dead wife's sister. The tone of the dinner immediately shifted and everyone got extremely tense, especially my kids. Amanda noticed the shift and started awkwardly laughing like she was trying to play her comment off as a joke. I was honestly just frozen, as that was the first time she had made a comment like that. My kids looked disgusted and Liz got up and walked out to the car. Sam waited a bit longer like he wanted me to say something, but I was still in shock about what Amanda had said. To make a long story about the dinner short, the dinner was kind of ruined, so I said my goodbyes to everyone, grabbed my fiance, and we all drove home. My daughter hasn't spoken to me or Amanda since, and it's been 3 days. I got tired of it and pulled my son aside to ask him what I should do. He said something along the lines of, I'm a grown man and don't care who another grown man marries, but I don't want a woman who speaks like that about our mother around my sister. Sam's comment stuck with me, and now I'm considering calling off the engagement entirely. She's never made comments like this before, but I'm worried if I let it slide this one time, it will become more frequent and it will affect my daughter. I need some advice from outside perspectives and just want to do right by my kids. Would I be the a-hole if I called off the engagement because of the comment she made? Nonetheless, thank all of you for the advice and even the people calling me a bad father. I think your guys' words are what I needed to pull my head out of my ass. I will try to talk to my kids alone tonight after speaking with my fiance, and we'll see where this goes from here. I'm pretty sure my fiance and I are over though. I'll update late tonight or tomorrow on how the talks with everyone goes. Thank all of you again for setting my head straight. The part that I wish we could have heard was, what the hell did the wife say after that? Was the wife like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I said that. That's not what I meant. It came out of my mouth wrong. Or was she just like, oh, that was a weird dinner? Because I think that's important. That's extremely important, is like, there are people who just say stupid shit. Things come out of people's mouths. It happens. It's happened to me before. It's happened to other people. We don't think through what we were saying and we say it. But it's about what you do after that that's important. That's the type of intrusive thought you get in the shower and spend the rest of the day feeling like an awful person. Absolutely. That's not a thought that you put out into the world. Okay, guys, we got 2 updates on this shit. Update number 1. I'm going to use this update as a way to clarify some of the questions people were asking in the comments. 1, did my fiance apologize to anyone at the dinner party? No, she didn't. I honestly don't think it even registered or has registered to her that what she said was wrong. 2, does the fiance have social anxiety? Not to my knowledge, no. In all the time I've known her, she's never shown any signs of social anxiety and doesn't have a history with it. 3, how old was my late wife? She was 37 when she passed and we were all the same age. Amanda is 41. A lot of people were asking for clarification on the time frame of her passing and when my fiance and I met. At this point in time, Kayla has been gone for about 6 years and I met Amanda roughly 3 years after Kayla's passing. I didn't mention either of their ages as I didn't believe it was important because we were so close in age, but I understand why a lot of you guys would want to know. Now that I've clarified the things I was asked most about in the comments, we can get into the update. While I'm writing this update, it's the day after I talked to the kids. So last night at around 5:30, my fiance left for work. She works nights most days of the week, so I was able to call my son and ask if he could come over so I could talk to him and his sister. He goes to our local college and lives in an apartment near his school. When he started college, he wanted to move out, but also wanted to stay close to us, so he settled on an apartment a few blocks away from the college. He came over and I called him and his sister into the living room to talk with both of them. When they were both seated, I told them point blank that I didn't think the wedding was happening anymore and that the comment she made was unacceptable. I then, by the advice of the comments, apologized to them. I told them I was sorry for not saying anything for so long and letting the tension thicken in our home. I told my daughter that I understood why she hasn't spoken to me and that I was sorry for allowing her to think that I was even remotely okay with what she said. I felt pretty spineless after we had gotten back from dinner that night, so I wanted to do everything in my power to make it right with my kids during the conversation. My daughter told me that she felt disgusted at the comment Amanda made, and even more so when I didn't defend her mother. She then told me that the past 2 years that she's known Amanda, she felt like she's been gradually trying to push her and Sam away from me. One of the examples Liz gave was when my son moved out. He moved out when he was about to start his sophomore year of college, and when he mentioned the idea of moving out, Amanda was the one who took that and ran with it. According to Liz, Amanda was the one encouraging Sam the most to move out. To be clear, I was never against Sam moving out, but I was clear to him that he was welcome to live at home for his college years and even after, until he found where he wanted to be. I asked Sam if he felt pushed out by Amanda and if that's why he moved out. He said he hadn't felt pushed out before he told everyone he wanted to move, but after he put it out there, my fiance kept pushing for him to move out. Liz cut in and said that every time she brings up college, Amanda keeps encouraging her to go out of state. Liz doesn't plan on going out of state, and she's been open about wanting to go to the college Sam is attending right now. Liz said she feels like Amanda is waiting till she graduates high school and goes to college so she can move out. A lot of comments were right about the subtle comments eventually turning into Amanda wanting wanting my kids pushed away from me. Liz said that she was scared that by the time I eventually noticed the way Amanda was acting, too big of a wedge would have already been driven between me and them. I told my kids that I'm sorry it's taken me this long to notice, and that I was also sorry they've been walking on eggshells for so long. I hugged my kids and told them no matter what, they are my top priority, not Amanda or anybody else. A lot of comments pointed out that even though my son is grown, he still needs his father, and I made sure to let my son know that I will always be there for him and his sister even when they are well grown. The entire conversation lasted about 2 hours. We covered a lot of the bases we wanted to, and it got emotional on all sides. In short, Amanda and I are done. I've made it a point to tell my kids that none of this situation is their fault and that Amanda is the grown woman who said what she said. My kids and I are okay right now, but they aren't 100% with me and probably won't be for a while. I'm completely fine with that and just want my kids comfortable in their own home. Amanda has tomorrow off from work, so I plan on talking to her tomorrow. I also plan on calling my mother to ask her why she thought it was okay to even bring up Kayla at the dinner. I don't want my daughter here when it all goes down, so she's staying tonight and tomorrow night with Sam. So that's where I'm at right now. Not super happy about the outcome of me and Amanda, but would rather have my kids happy and healthy than have a wife. Calling the mom out about bringing up Kayla at the dinner, I think it's like the elephant in the room that someone actually does need to address, and she addressed it in a really positive way. If anything, it's a good thing she brought it up, because much rather bring this to light now than after they're married and then they realize, oh, hey, she's not a good person. I don't think there's a ton to say about this, and I want to read the other update. I think something we can take out of this, hoping none of us are ever in this situation, but if you're in a situation where you're about to remarry and you have kids, I think it's super important that you ask the kids to give their honest opinion about the person that you're about to ask to marry. I think that's super important. I think OP has great instincts around I pick my kids over everybody. That's phenomenal. Like, shows that OP is a great parent. But if this is how their kids have been feeling, this should have come out a lot earlier. Update number 2. Before the hard part of the day, breaking it off with Amanda, I made a call to my mom to let her know of the situation. A lot of the comments told me to not bash my mom for the comment she made. Now thinking back on the situation with a clear mind, the comment my mother made towards Amanda was most definitely a compliment towards her, and that was confirmed in the call I had with her. My mother, bless her heart, felt extremely guilty for the entire situation. She fully believed the situation all stemmed from her one comment. I assured her that none of the situation was her fault, and that I've never blamed her one bit for any of this. We talked a bit more before I let her go. The call ended at about 9:15 a.m. and I was left waiting for Amanda to wake up. She woke up around 10:30 a.m. and I didn't want to ambush her straight after she woke up, so I waited until about 11:10 a.m. to sit her down and talk. A lot of the people in the comments suggested to secretly video the whole thing. I thought that was extremely smart, so I had my phone set to record in my back pocket the entire time. I didn't think she'd try to do anything drastic, but I would rather be safe than sorry. The talk with her went about as well as anyone could imagine, so not at all. I told her I needed to talk with her, that it was serious, and we sat in the living room. When we were seated, I began unloading on her about the comment she made about Kayla at my parents' house, how it made my kids feel, how it made me feel, her lack of an apology or any sort of acknowledgement to what she said, and so on. I told her I expect her to give an apology to my parents, my in-laws, and most importantly, my kids. During the entire time of me unloading on her, she didn't seem to show any bit of emotion other than her eyes, which were slightly wider than normal. After I spoke my truth, she straight up asked, so if I apologize to everyone, we'll go back to normal. I told her point blank no. I told her that the comment she made at dinner was not the extent of my problems with her. I then told her that I know she heavily pressured Sam to move out when he wasn't even sure if he wanted to at that point in time, and that I also know she is now trying to do the same with Liz. I did my absolute best to leave my kids out of the situation, but told Amanda that the way my kids described her treatment towards them was the main reason I don't see a future with her anymore. Amanda was stone-faced up until I told her we were done. I think that's when the panic set in for her. She kept saying that she'll apologize to everyone and that she'll make it right with my kids, etc., etc. I told her that if she apologizes, I will certainly appreciate it, but we were still done either way. She was full on crying at this point and asked me why wasn't I willing to try and fix our relationship. And I told her that even though I loved her, and I will be honest, I still love her very much, I was not willing to take another chance of my kids being hurt against the way they were. I was frustrated and shot back at her, asking her why she was trying to push my kids out of their own home. And I got back an answer I was not at all expecting. I was completely shocked at her response, but a lot of you guys won't be. A lot of the commenters actually hit the nail right on the head with what Amanda was truly like. Well, I didn't know you expected me to house somebody else's kids for the rest of my life. I immediately saw red, and after about a minute, I told her to get out. I told her that my kids can go wherever the damn they please, especially in the house I own and pay for. She tried to retaliate, but in the end ended up packing a few bags and going to stay with one of her friends. I emailed a copy of the phone recording to myself. The talk only lasted about 25 minutes, not nearly as long as the talk I had with my kids. So if anything ends up coming out of the conversation, I have all I'd need to keep my name clear. I've texted my kids that Amanda's out of the house for good and that they are welcome to come home anytime, and let my son know that if he wants to, he is more than welcome to move back in completely. My daughter is coming back from her brother's place in the afternoon, and I still have phone calls to make to my parents and in-laws to apologize for this mess of a situation. Amanda's out of my house, but keeps blowing up my phone for us to try to work things out. I'll let her come by in the next few days so she can collect the rest of her stuff out of my house, but she is not welcome to live here again. I'll be honest and say that I am a bit devastated. Despite everything Amanda did, I still love her, and I probably won't stop loving her for a minute, but I'll be okay. Right now, I just want to focus on the family that needs me, and I will use this situation as an excuse to bond more with my kids. Another big thank you to everyone who helped me in the comments. A lot of the advice you guys gave played a part in making things right with my family. Relatively happy ending. As much as we can sit here and be like, oh, I would have seen that. Like, if I was dating Amanda, I would have totally weeded out that she was a terrible person. But like, truly and genuinely, it's hard to weed that stuff out. Like, I genuinely believe this could happen to any of us listening to this right now. Really glad that OP got the wake-up call that they needed. And I feel bad for anybody who maybe has a similar situation where they don't get that wake-up call. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my wife name our kid something stupid? Me, 25 male, and my wife, 23 female, are having our first child together. She is currently 9 months pregnant and could give birth anytime in the next couple of weeks. The only major fight we have had throughout her pregnancy happened a couple days ago, and it was about what we were going to name our kid. It all started when we found out the gender of our baby. We didn't do a gender reveal and decided to find out the gender at one of her checkups because we didn't want to spend time making 2 lists of names, then have to get rid of one after. So after we found out we were having a boy, we sat down together and made a list. Almost all the names she suggested were normal until the one that caused me to write this post. She suggested we name our son Mune. She told me the name was from this movie she watched when she was younger and that it always stuck with her. I told her the name was a little out there and he would get made fun of for it. She claimed he wouldn't, and we started going back and forth trying to decide whether to add the name to the list or not. Eventually, she agreed to keep the name off the list. We picked some stuff that we liked, and I thought that was that. Later on in her pregnancy, her mom decided to throw a baby shower as it was her first grandchild, and my wife's pregnancy was almost over, and we hadn't celebrated once. It was fine for the most part until we started to open the gifts. Most of them were normal baby things like diapers and bottles until we got to her mom's gift. My wife opened the gift bag and pulled out a blue handmade blanket. It seemed normal enough at first until my wife unfolded it, and lo and behold, there was the name Mune written on the blanket. When I saw it, I was pissed, but I didn't want to cause a scene, so I stayed quiet. After that reveal, I had family members come up to me and ask me about the name and why I hadn't told them. I didn't know what to tell them as I didn't have a clue about this either, and just had to embarrassingly tell my family that, which pissed me off even more. Once the event ended and me and my wife went home, I started to question her about the name. She got defensive and told me that it was a good name and that I was overreacting about it. I brought up the earlier points and told her it was a stupid name for a kid, and if she wanted to name something Mune so bad, she could use the name for a dog. She got upset and called her mom to come get her. After she left, she called me and told me she wouldn't be coming back for a while. Everyone I've talked to about this has said I'm not the a-hole, but now that my wife has been gone and I've been thinking about it, I feel like I could have handled the situation better. I think at the end of the day, OP is not the a-hole. I think they could have handled this a little bit better. Telling your wife that a name that is seemingly important to her is a name that she should give to a dog is probably not the right move, especially when she's pregnant and kind of emotional because of the hormones. I will say that the wife is more in the wrong, and I think that makes OP not the a-hole. It's unacceptable to not confirm with your significant other that you're having a whole child with the name of the baby, and to go behind their back and tell family members that the name is going to be a name that your significant other clearly hates. Because of that, I think definitely not the a-hole. I think there are way worse names than Mune. I think I have to agree with OP though. It is a weird name. Like, you are taking a gamble. Like, you don't want to give anyone ammunition. That's literally basically free ammunition that you're giving somebody later on. I know the wife is the one that has to push it out of the cooter, but at the end of the day, that is both your guys' child, and you both need to figure out a name for the kid. Make it their middle name. If that's what they want to go by later on in life, or if that's what the mom wants to call them, she has that ability. Not giving that kid an out is going to be rough, but it's a cool name. I don't think it's a bad name, but I could totally see, like, thing that came to my head was like Mune the Mute or something like that. Like if the kid's a quiet kid. Kids are mean. Kids are mean. I would not like to give kids ammunition if you don't have to.
Am I the a-hole for making a microscope slide of my husband's sperm? I think this is stupid, but my husband is annoyed with me, so it's whatever. This morning I went to take a shower and I noticed that my husband had not so gracefully spewed his seed on our glass shower door and didn't clean it up. I went to him and asked if he could clean it up in the future and maybe consider not jerking it in our shared shower if he can't clean up after himself well. I don't want my shower to be filled with crusty old jizz. He argued with me that it was just shampoo and that I'm being crazy basically. The fact that he kept insisting it was shampoo when I knew it wasn't annoyed me, so I grabbed a Q-tip and a microscope slide and glass covering and made a wet mounted slide. If you're wondering why I have these on hand, it's because I took a microbiology course in college years back and kept all the stuff. I viewed his slide and showed it to him. It was obviously sperm. We had a big fight and he got mad at me and said I can never let anything go. And I said we wouldn't be in this position if he had just cleaned up after himself. And I told him to stop insisting I'm wrong when I know I'm right. We have disagreements all the time where he tells me I'm wrong when I know I'm right. And he gets so angry when I prove I'm right. Like when he insists our dog's vet is open on Sundays when I know it's closed on Sundays, etc. I work as a private investigator. Wanting to know what's true and what isn't just isn't my nature. He knew this before he married me. Here's the thing, I'm a huge advocate for fuck around and find out. And this is a perfect example of like fuck around and find out. If you lie and someone is like, gotcha bitch, you just gotta be like, damn, you're right. Yo, you found out I was lying? That's so fucked up of you. If you fuck around and find out, you can't be mad that you found out because you first fucked around. It's simple maths, boy maths. I also think there are major trust issues in this relationship. OP made a specific effort to tell us he lies a lot. If you lie about the little things, that's gonna affect the trust on the bigger things. I think this is a not the a-hole. They did add an edit that said, yes, I know I'm psycho. No, my husband isn't some poor sexually repressed man taking his anger out on a shower door. I literally do him like every day. Crazy is good in bed. No, I don't know why he doesn't just say, sorry for jizzing on the shower door. I'll clean up my swimmers. No, we ain't getting a divorce. Say what you want. I have fun in my marriage and in life. I'm off to go fingerprint my box of fruit snacks to see if he ate any. If you enjoyed, click right here to watch another one of my Reddit videos and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on new messy Reddit threads every week.